गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन, यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा, श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद, जय कृष्ण चैतन्य Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hariba, Hariba, Haribol, Haribol. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astatarasata Shri Srimad Abhay Charanar Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astatarasata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sakoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Brindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Nilachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki The Lordships Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Lordships Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki The Lordships Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're in competition with some noise. Is it possible perhaps those windows can be closed? It'll shut out some of the sound. Although we may put up with a little inconvenience for a short while. Just those one. Yeah, it's a little loud. So sometimes I'm in my apartment there, I'm on my computer and I'm busy working. And then because it's an apartment, then somebody else will start drilling. Then it reverberates to the whole building, and I say, oh my Lord, let me pack up my computer. And where do I run to? I run to the temple and I sit in the college room here and carry on. But now we're competing again. So, all right, thank you for that. If you don't mind the inconvenience of a lack of breeze for a short while. We're going to be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 52. Very interesting verses also. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayodhiraye Nasta prayashu abadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavati uttama shloki bhakti bhavati naistake. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So we read the, let's do the word for word and then we'll try the meter for the verse. Again, check Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 52, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, otherwise known as Rudra Gita or Shiva Gita. Pada, by the lotus feet. Also, let me just do the words first, then we do the try. Pada, Sharat Padma, Palasa, Ruchisa, Naka, Dyubhir, No, Anantar, it's Anta, sorry. No, Anta, Agham, Vidhunvata, Pradarshaya, Sviyam, Apasta, Sadvasham, Padam, Guru, Marga, Guru, Tamajosam. All right. Pada Sharat Padma Palasha Rochisa. Naka Dyubhi Nonantaragam Vidunvata. Pradarshaya Sviyam Apashta Shadvasham. Padam Guru Marga Guru Stamojusam. Pada Sharat Padma Palasha Ruchisa. Naka Dyubhi Nonantaragam Vidunvata. Pradarshaya Sviyam Apashta Shadvasham. Padam Guru Marga Guru Tamojusam. Pada Sharat Padma Palasha Ruchisa. Naka Dyubhi Nonantaragam Vidunvata. Pradarshaya Sviyam Apashta Shadvasham. Padam Guru Marga Guru Stabojusam. Radhika ji. Pada Sharat Padma Palasa Ruchisa. Nakadyubino nantaragam vidunvata. Pradarshaya sviyam apasta shadvasham. Padam guru marga guru stamojusam. Padasharat padma palaruchisa. Nagam dyubino nantaragam vidunvata. Pradarshaya sviyam apashta shadvasham. Padam guru marga guru stamojusam. Padasharat padma padasaruchisa. Nakadyubino nantaragam vidunvata. Pradarshaya sviyam apashta sadvasham. Padam guru marga guru stamojusham. Padasharat padma palasharuchisa. Nakam dyubino nantaragam vidunvata. Pradashaya sviyam apashta shadvasham. Padam guru marga gurus samajus. Nakadyubhino nantaragam vidunvata. Pradarshaya sviyam apashta shadvasham. Padam guru marga guru stamojasam. Pada, by the lotus feet. Sharat, autumn. Padma, lotus flower. Palasa, petals. Ruchisa, very pleasing. Naka, nails. Dyubhi, by the effulgence. Naha, hour. Anta agam, dirty things. Vidhunvata, which can cleanse. Pradarshaya, just show. Sviyam, your own. Apashta, diminishing. Sadvasham, the trouble of the material world. Padam, lotus feet. Guru, O Supreme Spiritual Master. Marga, the path. Guru, Spiritual Master. Tamaha Josam, of the person suffering in ignorance. The translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his purport or commentary that follows. My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of a conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours which always dissipates all kinds of darkness in the heart of a devotee. My dear Lord, you are the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all conditioned souls covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened by you as the spiritual master. The purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Shiva has thus described the bodily features of the Lord authoritatively. Now he wants to see the lotus feet of the Lord. When a devotee wants to see the transcendental form of the Lord, he begins his meditation on the Lord's body by first looking at the feet of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the transcendental sound form of the Lord, and the 12 cantos are divided in accordance with the transcendental form of the Lord. The first and the second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are called the 2 lotus feet of the Lord. It is therefore suggested by Lord Shiva, one should first try to see the lotus feet of the Lord. This also means that if one is serious about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he must begin by seriously studying the first and second canto. The beauty of the lotus feet of the Lord is compared to the petals of a lotus flower which grows in the autumn season. By nature's law, in autumn, the dirty or muddy waters of rivers and lakes become very clean. At that time, the lotus flowers growing in the lakes appear very bright and beautiful. The lotus flower itself is compared to the lotus feet of the Lord, and the petals are compared to the nails of the feet of the Lord. The nails of the feet of the Lord are very bright, as Brahma Samhita testifies. Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya. Every limb of the transcendental body of the Lord is made of Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala. Thus every limb is eternally bright. As sunshine dissipates the darkness of this material world, the effulgence emanating from the body of the Lord immediately dries up the darkness in the heart of the conditioned soul. In other words, everyone serious about understanding the transcendental science and seeing the transcendental form of the Lord must first of all attempt to see the lotus feet of the Lord by studying the first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. When one sees the lotus feet of the Lord, all kinds of doubts and fears within the heart are vanquished. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in order to make spiritual progress, one must become fearless. Abhayam satvata samsudhi. Fearless is the result of material involvement. It is also said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhayam dvitiya bhine vishattaha syat. Fearfulness is a creation of the bodily conception of life. As long as one is absorbed in the thought that he is this material body, he is fearful. And as soon as one is freed from this material conception, he becomes Brahma Bhuta, or self-realized, and immediately becomes fearless. Brahma Bhuta Prashatnatma. Bhagavad Gita 1854. Without being fearless, one cannot be joyful. The bhaktas, the devotees are fearless and always joyful because they are constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. It is also said, Evam prashana manasho bhagavat bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vigyanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By practicing Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, by practicing Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, one becomes fearless and joyful. Unless one becomes fearless and joyful, he cannot understand the science of God. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. This verse refers to those who are completely liberated from the fearfulness of this material world. When one is so liberated, he can really understand the transcendental features of the form of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore advises everyone to practice Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, as will be clear in the following verses. By doing so, one can become really liberated and enjoy spiritual bliss. It is also stated, Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. The Lord is the supreme spiritual master, and the bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord is also a spiritual master. The Lord from within enlightens the devotees by the effulgence of the nails of his lotus feet. And his representative, the spiritual master, enlightens him from without. Only by thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord and always taking the spiritual master's advice can one advance in spiritual life and understand Vedic knowledge. Yasya deva para bhakti yata deva tata guru tasyati hita hi artha prakashante mahatmana. Thus the Vedas, Svetara Upanishad 6.23, enjoin that for one who has unflinching faith in the lotus feet of the Lord, as well as in the spiritual master, the real import of Vedic knowledge can be revealed. Om Gyanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripata Maham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godadaya Pushpavanto Chitra Sandato Monado. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda have arisen on the eastern horizon of Godadesh like the sun and the moon, and they are delivering all the fallen conditioned souls of this age. Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Text 52 again. Oh, my dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of a conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours, which always dissipates all kinds of darkness in the heart of a devotee. My dear Lord, you are the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all conditioned souls covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened by you as the spiritual master. So there are many, many wonderful analogies and deep, very deep disseminations by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. So for those who are online, we are understanding the narration by Maitreya Rishi to the great devotee Vidura. And Maitreya Rishi is narrating the glorification of Lord Shiva about Krishna. This chapter is known as the Rudra Gita. And here we are hearing Lord Shiva's glorification of Lord Krishna. Lord Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yatam Shambhu, the greatest devotee of the Lord, of Lord Krishna. And he is showing that greatness as a devotee by this glorification. So he is speaking to the Prachetas, and the Prachetas had left home to go and perform austerities, and in that, on their way, they encountered Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, seeing that they have inclined towards devotional service and that they have also been purified due to their austerities, that they are now ready for the next step, Lord Shiva appears to guide them further in devotional service, as we discussed last time. Great devotees will see, and they will assist those who are ready to take the next step, like we see Narad Muni doing that with so many. So Lord Shiva also, he expresses his joy in seeing the Prachetas. He says, "You're great devotees." And then he begins to. So a devotee recognizes another devotee. A devotee is always happy, joyful to see another devotee. And Lord Shiva shows by his example how to do that. And then he begins to instruct the Prachetas. And his glorification of the Lord becomes known as Rudra Gita. So the prior verses have been glorifying and describing Krishna's beauty and his appearance and so on. And now Lord Shiva is expressing to Krishna, "My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower which grows during the autumn season." So this lotus, Krishna's pada, his feet are like the padma, which are the lotus, soft. Krishna's feet have been described in previous, many references in the Vedas as Padma, Pankaj, or Padma Pada. So even we see when we are glorifying even Lord Nishingadev, Shri Nishinga, Jai Nishinga, Jai Jai Nishinga, Pralad Desha, Padma Mukha, Padma Bringa. So the lotus holds a very, very special place in relation to the descriptions of Krishna. It's a beautiful flower and it's soft like Krishna's lotus feet. And here also it's being expressed that which grows during the autumn season. So we're referring to the northern hemisphere. And in the northern hemisphere, the monsoons have come. May, June, July, and some remnants in August. Right? So you'll find this, now it's becoming, after the monsoons have come and the heavy rains have created great floods and have agitated the ponds and the lakes. So all the dirt has arisen during that time, and then the forests and the flowers have all been drenched and washed clean by this heavy pouring of the rains. And now the period has settled, has become calm. Autumn is coming in because it's now heading towards winter, right? So we're now in the Sharad month. So August, September, October, those periods, Sharad. And lotus flowers are blooming. Everything is calm. Everything is beautiful. We read about this in Krishna book. The cooling breezes, cooling autumn breezes, and the sprinkling of the water from the lakes as the breezes blow over them are cooling to the resonance of Vrindavan, and Krishna and the cowherd boys as they're playing. Very beautiful, absolutely beautiful scene. So Krishna's feet are being described. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Lord Shiva has thus described the bodily features of the Lord authoritatively. Why? Anybody can say why Lord Shiva is authoritatively? Is one of the Mahajans, which you learned in the previous verse. Yes. What else? Topmost devotee. Yes. So Prabhupada says in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita, you must watch that video where he's describing the introduction, and he said, and he's explaining how the authorities, some of the academics, have given credibility to his version of the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says there that only the devotee can speak about Krishna. Just like a son in a family can talk about the father, only the devotee. No one from outside the family can say anything about the father. Similarly, no one from outside the devotee circle can say anything about Krishna. And then Prabhupada is emphatic. He says, in fact, no one outside has any right to speak about Krishna. So Lord Shiva is devotee. And he is the head of the Rudra Sampradaya, the bona fide Sampradaya. So he can speak authoritatively about Krishna. So just say that one line, so much can be understood. Now he wants to see the lotus feet of the Lord. When a devotee wants to see the transcendental form of the Lord, he begins on the Lord's body by first looking at the lotus feet of the Lord. So when we come to take darshan of the deities, then that's how our meditation begins. We stand, we look at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then look at his calves and his knees and his thighs, and our meditation. And we try to see, and besides just looking, we try to see also how the devotees have dressed the Lord. What do they put? There's the toe ring there for Krishna, and his dhotis, tied in a certain way. Sometimes it's like flowing in the breeze. And you see, so you meditate on that, and then you see his beautiful cummerbund with a girdle and golden girdle. And meditate. And then we take the full darshan of Krishna's face. In that way we meditate on the Lord, and step by step. Sometimes, you're spontaneously drawn to a particular feature of the Lord, so you may just walk in and then look, wooden flute today, where's the golden one? So, that's all right, it's a little, but it's sadhana bhakti we're being taught. This is how we do that. So, Prabhupada speaks that the Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the transcendental sound form of the Lord. And the 12 cantos are divided in accordance with the transcendental form of the Lord. The first and second cantos are called the two lotus feet of the Lord. So, Lord Shiva, so Srila Prabhupada is saying Lord Shiva is instructing us also that beside just wanting to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, we should also, Bhagavatam is non-different from the Lord. So we begin by meditating on the first and second canto, by studying them scrutinizingly. So this is also described in Bhagavatam itself, that the 10 aspects, the 10 components of the Srimad Bhagavatam. What's that? Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam utya manvantara ishana kuta Nirodha Mukti Ashraya. There's 10 subject matters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Each one of them refer to the different parts of the Bhagavatam. But as you meditate on the Bhagavatam, you shall come up to from the lotus feet all the way up to the lotus face, Mukha Padma of the Lord, which is the 10th canto. Atra Sarga Visarga, the elementary, primary creation and secondary creation. Atra Sargas, Visarga. So Krishna's creation with the Purusha avatars, and then you got secondary creation is Lord Brahma. Atra Sarga Visargascha. Sthanam Poshanam. Sthanam are the description of the planetary systems. Poshanam, the Lord offers all protection to the devotee. Poshanam. Sthanam Poshanam. Manvantar, the 14 Manus and their roles. Manvantara. Ishanu Katha. Isha Katha, the pastimes of the Isha, the Supreme Lord. Ishanu Katha. Nirodha Mukti Ashraya. Nirodha, the winding down of the pastimes of the Lord. Mukti, the liberation, all the aspects dealing with the liberation. Ashraya, Prabhupada says, Saman Bonim, means the total conclusion, nothing else left to be said. Ashraya, shelter, taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. So we begin here then by the first and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam called the Lotus Feet of the Lord. It is therefore suggested by Lord Shiva that one should first try to see the lotus feet. This also means that if one is serious about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he must begin by seriously studying the first and second canto. So this is also a warning, and whenever Srila Prabhupada has a chance to make a point about unscrupulous commentators and so on, he will. You see that he smashes the impersonalists in every purport wherever he can. So what's the warning here? Don't jump like the unscrupulous commentators to the 10th canto, particularly the Rasa Leela, when you are not qualified to understand it. Study Bhagavatam first and second canto. Become convinced of Krishna's supremacy. In fact, we should be studying Bhagavad Gita first. So when we study Srimad Bhagavad Gita, then we are convinced of Krishna's divinity and supremacy. And in that way, when we study Srimad Bhagavatam, then we already know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And therefore, those things that are all supremely powerful, supremely majestic, and supremely incredulous in Bhagavatam, we can accept. Because yes, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. We are now convinced He can do all of that. So we should be studying the first and second canto. And of course, there is this Bhakti Vaibhav classes are going on, and people have made wonderful progress. But I think, first canto, maybe we should really take one whole year to just go through it. There are some devotees have reading classes and so on online, and if we have time, devotees are doing so many things, so if you got time, you can join these. So this is the very wonderful advice. Srila Prabhupada is using this meditation of Lord Shiva, who wants to see the lotus feet of the Lord, as saying that we should study Bhagavatam, which is the canto 1 and 2 are the lotus feet. But what happens when you do that? When you focus on the lotus feet of the Lord, what happens? By that effulgence of the lotus feet of the Lord, all the darkness in the heart of the conditioned soul is dissipated. What's the second invocation for Bhagavatam? Before we give the class? Nasta Say if you know. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati noistaki. Translation approximately? But by regular attendance in Bhagavatam class and rendering service to the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavat, then all that is troublesome to the heart is completely dissipated, yes? And bhakti is established as the irrevocable truth. Irrevocable. Bhaktir bhavati noistaki. Nasta prayesha abhadresha. Nityam bhagavata sevaya. Nityam bhagavata. Book Bhagavat. Serving the book Bhagavat by hearing. And serving the devotee, the person Bhagavat. In that way, the darkness of the heart of a conditioned soul. Bhagavati uttama shloke. Bhagavati, God, uttama shloke. The prayers, this uttama, the highest prayers, shloke, the verses to the Bhagavat, Bhagavati, the Supreme Lord. Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya. So, Bhaktir Bhavati Noistiki is established as the irrevocable truth. So we see that even in Bhagavad Gita, in that Chatushloki verses, that's there. So when the devotee, 10, when the devotee starts to worship the Supreme Lord, then Krishna gives the understanding by which he can come to Him. Bhakti Vaibhav students, Ranga, come on. 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami bhakti yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Okay, very good. Thank you, Ranga. So, for those who are constantly devoted to serving with me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. And then that follows the next verse. I kind of still learning 10, 11. Tesham evanukam partam aham agyam jam tama. That, and what happened? Dipena, that's this thing. Jnana dipena bhashvata. Jnana. To show them my special mercy, I dwelling in their heart. Does what? Benedict them with this illumination or this light of knowledge, which will do what? Destroy, dissipate the darkness of ignorance. So, the shining lamp of knowledge, Krishna says, I benedict them with that. So it's there, it's a process. All it needs from us is some seriousness. So Lord Shiva is saying, my dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours, which always dissipates all kinds of darkness in the heart of the devotee. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andakara. Yahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. Krishna is the light. Krishna is like the sunlight. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andhika. Maya is the darkness. Yahan Krishna, where there's Krishna, there is no darkness, there's no Maya. Yahan Krishna. Taha Nahi, not Maya Adhikar. Andakara is not there. There's no andar, there's no darkness. So this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well as in Nectar instruction. Prabhupada quotes in one of the purports. So this darkness. So in all religions we speak, you hear about light versus darkness. So the darkness is the darkness of ignorance or niscience, we say. And it's only by the process of light of the Bhagavata. Srila Prabhupada produced a book called The Light of the Bhagavata. And it's printed in Japan and has Japanese artwork in it. Very beautiful book. Macmillan publishes, I think it was, I can't remember. But it's called The Light of the Bhagavata. So this Bhagavatam is that light. Krishna swadham upagate dharma jnani dibi saha kalo nasto drisham esha puranarko dhunodita. Krishna is going where? He's returning to his abode, followed by all the religious principles. Then, what will happen? The sages in Namasharanya are saying, Krishna is returning. So what's going to happen in the future? They're fearful. What's going to happen? Puranarko dhunodita. Krishna swadhamot pagate dharma jnani dibisa. Kalo nasto drishamesha puranarko. In this age of Kali, this Purana is brilliant as the rising sun and will dissipate the darkness of ignorance. So here is this very, very beautiful and deep. I said we got about 5 minutes. The beauty of the lotus feet of the Lord is compared to the petals of the lotus flower which grows in the autumn season. By nature's law, in autumn, the dirty or muddy waters of the rivers and lakes become very clean. At that time, the lotus flowers growing in the lakes appear very bright and beautiful. So we spoke about this. But Prabhupada says the nails of the feet of the Lord are very bright, as in Brahma Samhita. And he cites Ananda Chinmaya Sad Ujvala Vigrahasa. What's that? Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvalaha Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. That I worship Govinda, and the source of all bliss, truth, substantiality, and the source, who is the source of this dazzling splendor. This is what Prabhupada is saying here. Ananda Chinmaya Saruj. Every limb of the transcendental body of the Lord is made of Ananda Chinmaya Sad, dazzling splendor. So Prabhupada says, thus every limb is eternally bright. As the sunshine dissipates the darkness of this world, the effulgence emanating from the body of the Lord immediately dries up the darkness in the heart of the conditioned soul. Bhagavad Gita in chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga. That's where it's described. What is that? Na shashanko na pavaka. The spiritual world is not illumined by the light. It does not need the sun or the moon nor electricity. It is self-illuminating. So everywhere this idea of brightness and light is there. And we are covered by the darkness of our ignorance. And until that curtain is drawn, then we will not be able to see beyond that. So this curtain, the yogis are trying to draw this curtain by a mechanical process. But that is also very troublesome. Bhagavad Gita chapter 11. Those who are trying to understand me by this impersonal process, it's very troublesome, Krishna says. It's very troublesome. They may not make it. But when you take to devotional service, even though our conditioning may overcome us at certain stages, and we may sometimes be distracted from the path, but you start with that. You continue with whatever you have developed in spiritual life. So when one sees the lotus feet of the Lord, all kinds of doubts and fears within the heart are vanquished. In Bhagavad Gita, it's said to make spiritual progress, one must become fearless. So we're working on that. I don't think many people are fearless. We fear every little thing. And why do we fear? Is because we have the embedded experience of the painful experience of death, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. We're carrying with that unconsciously. So therefore, when we see a snake slithering by, because we think it's going to bite us. The mind is already working, it's going to bite us. But that snake, poor thing, is even more afraid of you and is slithering away because he knows that you may just kill him too. So he's going, right? Or if you stand on the edge of a tall building, then immediately you feel fearful. Oh, I may fall down to my death here. So some things are coming there. So the fear of death is what makes us fearful. Because ultimately we want to protect, self-protection. Of course, there should be some self-protection. But the devotee is fearless. What if you get captured by a band of some type of fanatical practitioners of some pseudo-religion, and then they say, okay, now you are here for the human sacrifice. Let us decapitate you right now. What's going to happen? Will you say, my dear Lord? Like King Kulashekar, the Alvas. Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja. That verse. Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja. How it goes. It's a beautiful verse. Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja panjarantam adhyaiva me vishato manasho rajahamsa prana pranaya samaye kafa vatapitai kanta varodana vidavo smarana kutaste. My dear Lord, let my mind immediately dive into the labyrinth of the stems of your lotus flower and become entangled there. Because how will I remember you at the time of death when my mind and body are congested with kapha, vata, pitai, bile, mucus and phlegm? It will be so difficult to remember you then. So my Lord, let my mind immediately dive and become entangled in the stems of your lotus feet. Krishna tvadiya padma pankaja panjarantam adhyaiva me vishato manasha rajahamsa. Like the rajahamsa, like the swans who play in this lake, they dive amongst the lotus stems of the lotus. They go underneath and so on. So let me be like that. Let my mind become like this Raja Hamsa, this king of the swans. Prabhupada is very famous. He sang this so beautifully. He likes that. You can search it, and very powerful. Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja. He sings that so nicely. So we are at past. Can we conclude this with a little pastime of Lord Shiva? Because since we're speaking so much about Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna, so I thought I would end with this. So you can tell me, Krishna, what is Krishna's instrument, favorite instrument? What he plays? The flute. Do you know he's got different types of flutes? Anybody knows some of them? The Venu, Murali, what else? Bamsi, right? And then there's a whole list, whole lot of them. Some long flute, short flute. He plays according to when he's fighting with the demons, or when he's calling the cows, or when he's calling the gopis, when he's calling the cowherd boy. All different flutes are there. What other blowing instrument Krishna has? The conch. Where we hear that? Bhagavad Gita. Krishna sounds his conch to start the war. Panchajanya Rishikesha Deva Datam Dhananjaya Dadmo Mahashankam Bhima. What's that? Karma Bikrodara. Yeah, so Panchajanya Rishikesh, Panchajanya. That. Any other? Any other? He's a cowherd boy with Balaram. What do they have to call the cows? Buffalo horn. And the cows. So where did he get the buffalo horn from? So one time Lord Shiva, when Krishna appears in this planet, all the demigods that take birth, they all want to come see. Because they don't get a chance to see Krishna, so they want to take his darshan. So Lord Shiva came to Vrindavan, knocked on the door of Yashoda's home. And the maidservant opened. And as soon as she saw him, she collapsed with fear. Boom. Because Lord Shiva with his matted locks, his old clothing, Shesh is there, and all his beads, everything. He was also like grimy from his meditation. So she saw him, she immediately collapsed with fear, called out, and then Mother Yashoda came, and she said, "Why are you frightening my maids, and who are you? You look like Durvasha Muni. Or maybe Kamsa sent you, and you want to harm my child." And Lord Shiva says, "May I see Kanaya, may I see him, may I touch, may I carry?" Mother Yashoda says, "No, I cannot, because you may be an agent of Kamsa." And so she doesn't bring Krishna. And Lord Shiva is begging and begging, and eventually he sits down outside and he starts to cry there. And then he's singing and singing, and Krishna, meantime, he starts to cry inside the house. He's crying and crying and crying, and nobody, Mother Yashoda, nobody can stop him from crying. And then the maidservant says, "Maybe it's been cast with an evil eye. That's why." So we know these sadhus can get rid of the evil eye. So maybe that sadhu can help us. So Mother Yashoda goes to the door and she calls out to the sadhu, "Please come. Krishna is crying, he's crying. Can you help us?" And the sadhu says, "Yes." And then Mother Yashoda hands him Krishna. And Lord Shiva touches the lotus feet of Krishna. And Krishna stops crying. And Lord Shiva is extremely happy. And he got the darshan. And then, when Mother Yashoda goes in, Krishna starts crying again and again and again and again, crying and crying and crying. And he points to the buffalo horn that Lord Shiva is carrying, called Shringi. And then Mother Yashoda asks for it and gives it to Krishna. And Krishna becomes pacified. And that's the buffalo horn of Lord Shiva that he has. So, Indradumna Maharaj says these pastimes, very beautiful pastimes, well researched. So, this ties up. We had the philosophy, the tattva, and we had the lila. So Krishna, Lord Shiva is saying, "My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like blossoming petals." So what does Lord Shiva want to do? He wants to hold those two lotus feet. And he went to Vrindavan and he did it. He held the lotus feet of Krishna. So this fulfills that verse. So thank you so much. We'll stop here. Maybe there's a comment or question and then we can. It's just like about 8 minutes over. Anybody wants to comment? Madhuri, have a question? Ranga?
Hare Krishna. So you were relating the pastime of how Krishna was crying and crying and crying. And then I was thinking of Lord Chaitanya and how he was crying and crying, crying when he was little, and only when they would chant the holy names of the Lord, then he would stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's brought back that remembrance. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. So this is what we have to do. That very powerful, the chanting. I mean, we have to work on it. Apana samsritam ghoram yan nama vivashogrinan tata sadyo vimuchyate. What's the last line? Yad bibheti swayam. That one who's implicated in the material nature, the births and deaths in the material nature, even by unconsciously chanting the holy name, Apanam Samsitam Goram Yannamaviv, he can be delivered from the entanglement in this meshes of the material nature, the name of which is feared by fear personified. Acha. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the opportunity for speaking. We always are very aware of our own limitations and my own lack of spiritual development and insight. So it becomes an opportunity actually for my own purification by trying to study and meditate on all of this. And we pray to the devotees that please give us your blessing so that it will become realization at some stage. And we also can become absorbed in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. How fortunate we are that even though we're so fallen, Lord Chaitanya has engaged us in some pure devotional service for which we aspire and hope that in some lifetime we shall achieve. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu.
Pancha kalpadarubhyascha kipasindubhya patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo Gaura bhakta vrinda ki jai.